Okay folks, this is the axle peg, which is the last part you have to draw. It's also the most complicated part because you cannot do it with a revolve. You have to do it with a loft and you got to put threads on it. So, I am going to draw on the front view, I guess is fine. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that little disc that makes up part of the head of this thing, and the diameter there is 0.422. I'm going to finish the sketch and I'm going to extrude that 0.031, which is what it tells me that the thickness of that little disc is. So now I have the disc, and now I'm going to do plane offset from plane, and I'm going to do a loft to create the smaller circle and then loft it down. The reason you guys can't do a revolve with this is because it gives you one of those weird spherical radii, and remember that's a 3D measurement in a 2D space and it doesn't work right. You won't get it perfect, and you need this as close to perfect as you can get so your wheels fit correctly. So in order to figure out how far I want that plane to be offset from, the height of the entire head is 0.125, but I have to subtract out that 0.031 that I have already created. I'm going to tell it okay. I'm going to put a sketch on this plane, and I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to project geometry to make sure they're concentric. So click concentric, click that one, click this one. They are. Dimension. The dimension of the smaller circle is 0.25. So now I'm going to finish the sketch, and I'm going to go to loft. Notice I only have one sketch right now, but I can still loft because I have an edge I can loft to. So I'm going to pick this, I'm going to pick the circle, click to add. Notice it picked up edges instead of sketch. Click this, click the smaller circle, tell it OK. And you should wind up with something looking like this. I'm going to turn off the work plane, and I'm going to go ahead and do the polygon on the front. To do the polygon, I'm going to use Create 2D Sketch. I'm going to go to Polygon. Sure, I could draw a hexagon and I could calculate all the angles, which are 120 degrees, and it'd take me a bunch of time, or I can just let the computer do it. So I find the center point and I pull out my hex. Over here you can change how many sides you want it to have. These two options are important to know: inscribed and circumscribed. For what we're doing, it actually doesn't matter because the measurement is across the flats as opposed to either inscribed or circumscribed about a circle. That's what that means. Sometimes when you're working with polygons, you'll have to measure it relevant to the circle that it's either inscribed in, which means it's inside of it, or circumscribed, which means it's on the outside of the circle. So I'm going to tell it done. I'm going to come up here to dimension, and since it gives us the dimension across flats, I don't even like I said, I don't have to worry about that. So this is 5/32, and there's my hex. I'm going to finish the sketch, and I'm going to extrude. Extrude with a cut, and it's going back 0.111. Tell it OK. The last part here is the tail that's going to wind up with threads on it. So flip it around to the back, throw a sketch on the back of it, draw a circle, make sure it's concentric with this circle. There we go. Dimension this guy. And the way that I know the diameter that this should be is if I look at the thread call out, and I know it's threads because not only does it look like threads because it's a screw, but because it has letters. And remember, if it has letters, it's got threads on it somewhere. I see 1/4 inch -20 UNC. That means the major diameter is 0.25, which is 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to finish the sketch, and I'm going to extrude. The distance that I'm going to extrude is 1 because it tells me 1/4 of an inch with 20 pitch UNC series times 1 inch. That's where that comes from. I'm going to tell it OK. And now I have to put the threads on here. So I'm going to go to thread. And I'm going to turn off full length because it tells me it's a 1/4 inch offset. I want the threads to be 1 inch long because that's how long this part is. But the offset's going to be 0.25. Make sure the offset is at this side. Click face. Make sure the offset's closest to the head. And then click there. Tell it apply. And it'll cut the threads for you. The absolute very last step is to put the little chamfer on the bottom. So go chamfer, change the distance to 0.03, click the bottom circle, and tell it OK. And there is your axle peg. And now it's time to assemble, so I'll do that in a separate video. Make sure everything has colors on it and pictures and everything is good to go before you go to an assembly file, guys.